What the hell is this?
Why don't we discuss your home? Not Romania. Certainly not Brooklyn, no. I mean, your real home.
Bonjour tout le monde, je suis aujourd'hui en compagnie d'un acteur qui a marqué mon adolescence, ma vie d'adulte, ma vie de personne âgée, j'espère aussi, s'il est en bonne santé, et sûrement la vôtre avec ses rôles dans Goodbye Lenin, The Educators, Inglourious Basterds, Rush ou Captain America Civil War.
Alles in Ordnung, Mann. Lass mal ein bisschen besser kennenlernen.
Oh, krass, ey, guck dir das fette Teil an.
Daniel Brühl, vous parlez allemand, anglais, espagnol et français, alors je dois dire quoi? Allô? Hello? Hola? Bonjour?
Oui. Grüezi.
Ok, je vais pas faire ça, on est nul en allemand ensuite. Okay, before starting the interview, I wanted to know if there was a question I should absolutely avoid so that we don't leave angry. What's the worst question you've ever been asked?
It always depends. You know, depending the project you do, there's always then there would be the obvious question about the project that everybody asks. So,
like a question about Putin right now would be not the subject at all.
Too complex to, or no, then of course we would spend hours talking about this.
And you are German and Spanish, you speak 4 languages and have played 9 different nationalities on screen. So who are you? What place do you call home?
Different places, I would say. Hard for me to choose one in particular. I think the place where you grew up as a child and adolescent that you know has a strong impact, you know, that would be Cologne. So yeah, I still feel home there, although I moved to Berlin like 22 years ago. Then Barcelona is the place I was born, and I still love very much. Definitely home too. Berlin has become a home. I mean, the advantage growing up in such a mixed-up family, also with some French family. I have 2 aunts from Toulouse and Paris. It was nice because it was such an interesting cultural mishmash, you know. So. And that's why we all in the family, and I would consider myself being a European, and that's nice, you know, that it you know, widens your scope. But then on the other hand, sometimes I feel a little bit uncomfortable because I cannot fully say that I'm from one place in particular. Yeah. And sometimes I want that. I want to I want to be liked by people. I always did, you know, and I want to show them I belong here. I'm one of you. This is always
about gentrification a lot of times on interviews, and you need to have to be authentic, have a kind of street credibility.
Yeah. Which is pathetic sometimes, you know, because you know it's just so. Might come across as so fake and so desperate, you know. It's like, yeah, it's like in Barcelona would be, you know, I grew up with Spanish and they speak Catalan, so I understand Catalan, but it's quite rusty when I speak it, you know. But then I try to, you know, mingle with the people, but it doesn't always work. After living in Berlin for 22 years, I cannot say ich bin ein Berliner because I'm not. I'm still I'm still from Cologne.
You know, it's often said that by speaking another language, you become someone else.
Desbancar un casino.
¿Cuándo empezamos? Nadie ha pensado en este método antes.
Do you feel that your acting changes depending on the language you are playing in?
Oh yeah, and that's why I enjoy it so much, because each language has its strengths and weaknesses, you know. So you can express some things better in one or the other language, and that ultimately has an effect on your expression in everything. And so with Spanish, even the body language changes, you know, because the rhythm and the pace in which you speak. So, and even the pitch of my voice changes, I was told. My friend says that I sound more masculine when I speak in Spanish than it.
When I speak English, I turn into a kind of Woody Allen. I'm always like, I don't know, I become nervous.
Yes.
So,
It's funny. And that's great. To me, when it comes to acting, this is always such an important tool, and it's one of the first things I try to find in a character is how does he speak? What's the rhythm? How does a person talk? And then once you have this, the other pieces of the puzzle, you know, come together. But very often this is the first thing I do.
yeah, because you actually have no real classical training as an actor. You did not do a school. So what is the Daniel Brühl method? Because you, in The White Sound, you play the role of the schizophrenic in a very realistic way.
Erreicht. Und wisst ihr, was er noch gesagt hat? Das weiße Rauschen, das sei der ultimative Trip.
To the point that it is kind of academically recognized as one of the closest interpretation of the disorder on the screen. So what's your method?
I couldn't tell you because, you know, there's not one technique in particular that, you know, I learned. I used, instead of going to a school, I decided to work with coaches every now and then, and with you know, actors individually who would, you know, teach me things. And it all started when I was a child and I did radio plays, so that explains the voice thing, you know. So it was all about the voice. My uncle, who was married to my French aunt Françoise, that was one of them. There was another Françoise too, from Paris. But my uncle said I could read well when I was, you know, 8 years old. He said, you read quite well. And he did like these radio plays, and that fascinated me, you know. So you were in front of a microphone and you had to create a whole world and a character just with your voice. So that is why voice and you know, speaking right and finding that is so crucial. And I learned a lot by doing it for such a long time when I was a child. And then it always depends on the, it depends on the part. I mean, in that particular case, I did not only want to rely on the information that I could read about, you know, about the disease in books or watch documentaries, but I wanted to spend some time with someone who is affected from the disease, which I did. And then you also have to, you know, find your own madness inside you, which I, you know, tried to explore, you know, and tested that in my environment, you know. And then slowly you try to get there.
Are you kind of tired to speak about Goodbye Lenin now?
Was ist denn das?
Das ist.
Ja, was soll denn das?
Das ist.
Ja, ich weiß ja auch nicht, was die Genossen da wieder, also.
Die Fata Morgana.
Das ist ja aus dem
Das
Westen.
ist ja. Ja, ich weiß auch nicht.
Eine Luftspiegelung.
Now that it's been such a long time, I almost feel like I'm. I think it's going to be shown here in Lausanne. I haven't watched it. I cannot see myself that often, so there's no film that I watched more than 3 times. Not some, maybe just once. The ones I liked, 3 times. So I think I don't want to sit through the screening here, but it would be interesting to stay for the first 5 minutes. I think it will be shocking to see myself, my younger self.
You didn't change too much. Yeah, you know?
And now that it's been such a long time, I'm kind of, I feel nostalgic. Maybe that's the beginning of the midlife crisis, that I'm getting milder and, you know.
Explaining in superhero movies, kind of a part of this midlife crisis.
Yeah.
Just to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the European cinema, you are known for nice guy roles like in Goodbye Lenin, Merry Christmas, or Julie Delpy's film.
This fast food chain has half the animals still alive when they're skinned. Everything you're eating is genetically modified.
While in the US, you are more often given bad guy roles like in Captain America or Inglourious Basterds.
Qu'est-ce que vous faites ici?
Je suis venu vous voir.
Vous voyez pas que je suis occupée?
Alors, acceptez que je vous aide.
Écoutez, Frédéric, c'est pas drôle, vous pouvez pas rester ici.
How do you explain that? Is there a problem in the perception of German people in the US? Or?
Well, maybe partly, but up until now in history, we had the label of being the bad ones. That might change now in the future. And so, no, but also it was very refreshing, I have to say, and I really appreciated it a lot because it was a view that was unprejudiced, and I was allowed to discover my darker side, which I always, had. Everybody has it, and as an actor, you want to explore that because it's fascinating, it's interesting, and nobody ever gave me the opportunity in Germany. So I thought, great that the outside perspective was so much more,
It was therapeutic.
restrained, and different. So I'm very thankful for the villains I was offered.
You play in the MCU, and I have to say that I'm kind of, since I'm now in my 30s, so it began when I was like 18, and I'm a big fan. So you played Baron Zemo, the villain of Captain America: Civil War and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series. What's an actor's place in such a codified franchise?
It's weird. You are just going to a gigantic Luna Park. It's like going on a gigantic wheel or roller coaster. But it requires again a preparation and a full dedication, because it just doesn't work if you put a funny costume on and you say your lines in front of a green screen. You have to believe. You have to believe it. You have to believe yourself, and you have to take it seriously. And I also, when I first arrived there, I was just like a 12-year-old in a Luna Park and curiously observing everything. And of course, you think at first, "Wow, what are they wearing?" And they look funny. And then you see. It was one day that I wasn't shooting. I saw a scene between Scarlett Johansson and Robert Downey Jr. and all these incredible actors. And when they switch it on and they become these parts, it's mesmerizing because they're so good, so incredibly good at it, that it all becomes alive and real. And I always enjoy that. I understand if it's not everybody's cup of tea, but for me it's like I'm always and always have been a pop culture fan. So it's like listening to a nice pop tune in a car, which I always enjoy every now and then. Same it is with these films. And as long as the message is right, because I know that, and it starts with the head of it all, which is Kevin Feige, the boss of it all. And I know where he stands, also, socially, politically. And I think that is admirable because it becomes then very, very relevant, because so many young people, especially young people, see these films. And when the right messages are sent, they can reach, far more people than I could with my film that I directed.
Kannst du wieder? Nachmittag.
Entschuldigung, kannst du ein Foto?
Na klar.
Also ein Foto von uns beiden.
Entschuldigung.
And like in the series I did, for instance, if it is about that finally a black man is becoming the new Captain America, this is, as silly as it may sound, of a huge importance and relevance, because this is a message that these young kids get and understand. And so if you want to engage in that and you're interested in that, it's really incredibly well done. But I don't argue if someone does not like it. So.
Call it out of the shot.
Marshal!
Go on, James!
The crap's out of it!
Lauder is clearly furious. There's every reason to expect sharp words in the pits. It's going to be victory for Hunt. It's going to be an ignominious defeat.